The black bottle had a warning carved into the glass in 6 dead languages. Dale could not read any of them. He could only see the shape of a skull staring back at him from the label. The alien bar smelled like burnt sugar and wet metal. It was packed tonight. Traders, miners, smugglers, and pirates from 40 different worlds sat shoulder to shoulder at the long, curved counter. Dale pushed his way through the crowd. He had just finished a 6-week cargo run hauling ice rocks from the outer belt, and his throat felt like sand. He dropped into an empty stool at the far end of the bar. The bartender was a tall reptile creature with green scales and slow blinking eyes. The nameplate on its chest read Cross. Dale tapped the counter. Strongest thing you have, Dale said. Cross looked at him for a long moment. Then it pointed at a small wooden menu carved with strange symbols. You cannot read it, Cross said. So I will tell you. We have flame rum from Hespa. We have ice mead from the moons of Brel. We have black wine from the old worlds. Dale tilted his head. Black wine? I want that one. Cross went very still. Its long tongue flicked out and tasted the air. Around them, a few aliens stopped talking. A 4-armed creature, 2 stools down, slowly put down its glass and turned to watch. You do not want the black wine, human, Cross said quietly. That bottle is not for drinking. It is for remembering. Remembering what? The dead? Dale laughed. He thought it was a sales trick. Every bar on every station had some story about a special drink that would change your life. He had heard them all. How much? He asked. 200 credits a glass, Cross said. But I will not pour it for you. Dale slapped 400 credits on the counter. Then I will pour it myself. The whole bar went silent. Even the music from the corner speakers seemed to fade. A spider-like alien at the next table hissed and crawled backwards under its chair. The 4-armed creature whispered something to its partner, and both of them stood up and walked out. Cross stared at the credits. Then it stared at Dale. Its eyes had gone wide. Human, it said, do you know what this drink is? It is wine, Dale said. I have had wine before. It is called soul wine, Cross said. It is made from the tears of a dying star and the breath of warriors who died with unfinished promises. 1 drop holds the spirit of the dead. A full glass holds a whole soul. If you drink it, the soul comes with you. It does not leave until the promise is kept. Do you understand? Dale stared at the lizard for a few seconds. Then he laughed again, louder this time. You almost had me, he said. That was a good one. Pour the drink. Cross did not move. I said pour it. Cross slowly reached up to the top shelf. Its long claws closed around the black bottle. It pulled the bottle down with both hands like it was made of glass spiders. The cork came out with a soft pop. A thin black smoke rose from the neck of the bottle and curled in the air. The smoke smelled like rain on a cold grave. Cross poured the drink into a small clay cup. The liquid inside was not black. It was not any color at all. It was just empty, like a hole in the world. Last chance, human, Cross whispered. Walk away. Dale picked up the cup. He raised it to the crowd of staring aliens. 2 unfinished promises, he said. Then he drank it in 1 swallow. The liquid was cold, so cold it burned. It went down his throat like a knife made of ice. For 1 moment, Dale felt something heavy and old slide into his chest. It felt like another heart starting to beat next to his own. Then the feeling passed. He set the cup down on the counter and waited. Nothing happened. He waved at Cross. See? I am fine. You worry too much, lizard. Cross did not answer. Cross was looking at the floor. So were all the other aliens in the bar. Their eyes were wide and their bodies were trembling. Dale looked down. His shadow stretched across the floor in the soft orange light of the bar. But it was not his shadow alone. There was another shape standing right next to it. A second head, a second pair of shoulders, a second body taller than him with what looked like a long curved blade hanging at its side. When Dale moved his arm, his shadow moved. The other shadow did not. It just stood there facing him, watching him. Dale stepped back. The second shadow stepped forward. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He looked up at Cross. What did you do? Dale whispered. I warned you, Cross said. 3 times. Dale dropped the cup. It hit the floor and broke into pieces. He turned and pushed his way through the crowd. The aliens parted to let him pass. None of them wanted to touch him. None of them even wanted to breathe the same air. He stumbled out into the cold metal hallway of the station. The lights above buzzed and flickered as he walked under them. He looked down at the floor. The second shadow was still there, walking beside him, step for step. And then, very softly, he heard a voice in his ear that did not belong to anyone in the hallway. Hello, human, the voice said. We have much work to do. Sleep did not come easy that night. Dale lay on the thin bunk in his small cabin on board the cargo ship. The ship was called the Iron Sparrow, and it was docked at the trade station for another 2 days. His room was barely bigger than a closet. A bed, a locker, a cracked mirror on the wall, a small round window that looked out into the black of space. He kept his eyes closed and told himself it was a trick. The lizard bartender must have put something in the drink, some kind of drug that made people see things. That was all. By morning, the second shadow would be gone, and he would have a funny story to tell on his next run. But the air in the cabin felt wrong. It was too cold. And there was a sound, a soft, slow sound, like someone breathing right next to his ear. Dale opened his eyes. The cabin was dark except for the dim blue light from the window. He sat up slowly. The breathing stopped. He turned his head left, then right. Nothing was there. The mirror on the wall showed only him sitting alone on his bed, his hair messed up and his eyes wide. Stupid, he muttered. It was just a drink. He swung his legs out of bed and stood up to get a glass of water. As he walked across the small floor, he glanced down. His shadow moved with him, but the second shadow did not move. It stood in the middle of the room facing the door. Its long, narrow head was tilted as if it was listening to something far away. Dale froze. The second shadow turned, slowly, like a person turning to greet a guest. It had no face that he could see, only the dark outline of a tall figure with broad shoulders. But Dale could feel its eyes on him. He could feel them like cold water down his back. You are awake, the voice said. It was the same voice from the hallway. Soft, tired, old. Dale's mouth was dry. He could not speak for a moment. He grabbed the edge of the locker to keep his legs from giving out. What are you? He finally said. I am what the lizard told you. I am a soul. I was trapped in that bottle for many turns of many stars. You set me free when you drank. Now I am bound to you until our work is done. Bound how? I follow your shadow. I speak when no one else can hear. I cannot touch your world, but I can see it through your eyes. And I can speak to you. Dale slowly sat back down on the bed. His hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against his knees. What do you want from me? The shadow did not answer right away. It walked across the floor without making a sound and stopped in front of the small window. It stared out at the stars. Long ago, it said, I had a name. I had a family. I had a small farm on a green moon with 2 sons. My world was peaceful. We grew sweet fruit and traded with our neighbors. We had no army. We did not need one. The shadow's voice grew tight. Then a fleet came from a far star, black ships full of soldiers who wore masks made of bone. They were led by a warlord called Ozan. He wanted our moon for its water and its minerals. He gave us one day to live or die. My people tried to fight. We had only farm tools and old hunting bows. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter. My wife, my 2 children, my brother, my friends, all of them gone in one afternoon. Dale lowered his eyes. He did not know what to say. I was the last one standing in our village, the shadow went on. I was already cut deep. I was bleeding into the dirt, but before I died, I raised my face to the sky and made a promise. I swore on my blood that I would find Ozun, no matter how long it took, and I would end his life. I died with that promise on my lips. And so the soul wine took me. It holds all of us, all the warriors who died with promises not yet kept. The shadow turned from the window. It faced Dale. You drank the wine, human. So now my promise is your promise. We must find Ozan. We must end him. Only then will I be free. Dale stared at the floor for a long time. I'm not a soldier, he said. I am a cargo hand. I move boxes for a living. I do not fight. I do not even own a gun. I know, the shadow said. Then why me? Why does the wine pick me? The wine does not pick. It waits. It waits for someone foolish enough or brave enough to drink. There is no other way to set us free. Dale rubbed his face with both hands. He was tired, so tired. He thought of his little sister back on Earth. Her name was Rosa. She was only 12. He sent her credits every month so she could go to school. If he died on some crazy mission, who would send her credits? But then he thought of the warlord. Osun, he thought of a man on a green moon, bleeding out in the dirt, watching his family lie still beside him, and still finding the strength to make a promise. Dale took a slow breath. Tell me about Ozan, he said. Where is he? How do I find him? The shadow was quiet for a long moment. Then it said, he is still alive, and he is very, very afraid of ghosts. For 3 days, Dale did not leave his cabin. He sat on the floor with his back against the wall and listened. The shadow had so much to tell him, so much that had been locked inside that black bottle for 1,000 years. The words came out slow at first, then faster, like water from a broken pipe. The shadow's name was Tavik. He had been a husband, a father, a farmer, and finally a soldier for one single afternoon. His wife's name was Mira. His son was called Bren, and his little daughter was Lini. Lini had been 4 years old when Ozun's ships came. She had been hiding behind a stack of grain sacks when the black armored soldiers found her. Tavik had heard her scream from across the field. He had run. He had run as fast as his legs could carry him, but he was not fast enough. Dale listened with his eyes closed. He did not say much. There was nothing he could say. He just let the ghost talk. When Tavik was done telling his story, the cabin was very quiet. Outside the small window, the stars kept turning slowly past. What about Ozan? Dale finally asked. You said he's still alive. But that was 1,000 years ago. How can he still be alive? His race lives long, Tavik said. And he has spent most of his fortune on medicine and machines. He has bought every cure that money can buy. They say he is barely a creature now, more tubes than flesh. But his heart still beats. His mind still works, and his army still kneels when he gives an order. Where is he? He hides on a small moon called Veros. It is hidden behind a dust cloud at the edge of the Krell system. Few ships go there. Few ships even know it exists. He has built a fortress on a black mountain. The fortress has high walls and big guns. It has shield generators. It has a private army of 2,000 soldiers. They say no one has gone in and come out alive. Dale opened one eye. You really think a cargo hand from Earth is going to walk in there and end him? I think you are the one who drank the wine, Tavik said softly. And I have learned in my years inside the bottle that the wine never chooses wrong. It waits for the right soul. You may not see what you are, but the wine sees. Dale did not know what to say to that, so he said nothing. The next morning he got up, washed his face, and went down to the docking bay. The captain of the Iron Sparrow was a short, round woman from a colony moon. Her name was Captain Lyra. She had hired Dale for many runs, and she had always paid him fair. I need to leave the crew, Dale told her. Captain Lyra looked up from her clipboard with a frown. Now? In the middle of a contract? Yes, Captain. I am sorry. I will pay back the bonus. She studied him for a long moment. You look like death, son. What happened to you in that bar 3 nights ago? People are talking. Dale rubbed the back of his neck. I drank something I should not have. The captain sighed. She tore a page from her clipboard and handed it to him. It was his final payslip. She had even added a small bonus. You are a good worker, Dale, she said. If you ever get out of whatever trouble you are in, the Iron Sparrow has a bunk for you. He thanked her and walked away. He did not look back. With his last credits, he bought passage on a small jump ship called the Wandering Knife. The pilot was a four-eyed creature called Voss who did not ask questions and did not care about laws. For the right price, Voss would fly anywhere. Dale paid him to head toward the Krell system. The trip took 11 days. During that time, Tavik whispered in Dale's ear constantly. He taught him the names of the Krell stars. He taught him the patrol routes that pirates used. He taught him the words to say if a customs officer stopped the ship. He taught him how to bow to a Krell official without giving offense. He even taught him how to spit in the right direction during a Krell greeting, because the Krell believed that a guest who did not spit was hiding poison in his mouth. Dale learned everything. He was not a fast learner, but he was patient, and Tavik was patient too. The ghost had nothing but time. On the fourth day, Voss caught Dale talking to no one in the cargo bay. Who you talk to, human? The pilot asked. Myself, Dale said. You do that a lot. I am a lonely man. Voss did not look convinced, but he also did not push. He went back to his cockpit and stayed there for the rest of the trip. On the 11th day, the Wandering Knife jumped out of warp on the edge of the Krell system. The dust cloud was right where Tavik had said it would be, a great purple smudge across the stars hiding whatever was inside. Voss looked at it and shook his head. I will not fly in there. That place is bad luck. I take you to the edge. You find your own way. Dale paid him the rest of the credits and slipped into a small one-man pod. He climbed inside. The hatch hissed shut. Through the tiny window, he saw the Wandering Knife pull away and jump back into warp. He was alone, almost alone. Are you ready? Tavik asked. Dale took a deep breath and aimed the pod at the dust cloud. No, he said, but let us go anyway. The dust cloud was thick as wet wool. Inside the pod, the lights flickered as fine purple dust hit the hull. The sensors went blind. Dale could see nothing through the small window except a swirl of color. He flew slow and steady, with both hands tight on the small steering bar. Tavik whispered directions in his ear like a voice on an old radio. Bank left, now down. Slower. There is a rock the size of a city right in front of you. Dale could not see the rock, but he turned anyway. A moment later, a huge black shape passed his pod so close that he could see the cracks in its surface. He held his breath. For 2 hours, he flew like that, blind in the purple haze, trusting only the voice in his head. Then the dust began to thin. The stars came back into view, and there, hanging in the dark, was a small moon. Verros. It was an ugly thing. Half rock, half ice, black on one side and gray on the other. Right in the middle of its dark side, a single point of yellow light glowed like a watching eye. That is his fortress, Tavik said softly. Dale guided the pod down toward the moon's surface. Tavik had a plan. There was a small mining camp on the far side of Veros, a place where farmers from a few small worlds came to dig up rare salt. The camp was poor, and the workers were too tired to ask questions. Dale could land there, mix in with the workers, and find a ride into the city near the fortress. The pod touched down on a dirty landing pad behind a row of metal sheds. Dale climbed out. The air on Veros was thin and tasted like iron. The sky was a deep dark gray, even though it was the middle of the day. A few aliens turned to look at him. None of them seemed to care that a human had just dropped out of the sky. Dale pulled the hood of his old jacket up over his head and walked into the camp. He spent the next 2 days working. He paid no money. He just walked up to the salt foreman, asked for a job, and got handed a shovel. He dug salt for a full shift. The work was hard, but Dale had done harder. At the end of the shift, the foreman gave him a small bag of credits and a meal coupon. Dale used the credits to buy a ride on a salt truck that was going to the main city. The city was called Drun. It was a dirty, crowded place at the foot of the Black Mountain. The streets were narrow and smelled of smoke and sweat. The houses were stacked on top of each other like crooked boxes. Above it all, the warlord's fortress hung on the side of the mountain, dark and silent, watching everything below. Dale found a cheap room in a hostel that had no name and no door. The owner was an old creature with one good eye. He took Dale's credits and pointed at a corner with a thin sleeping mat. Dale sat on the mat and looked at the floor. Tavik, he whispered. I need to see the fortress up close. I cannot plan if I do not see it. Go up the east trail, Tavik said. There is a market halfway up the mountain. From there you can see the front gate. The next morning Dale climbed the east trail. It was a long, dusty path full of merchants pushing carts and small children begging for coins. He gave a few coins to a girl with two heads, then kept climbing. After 3 hours, he reached the market. He bought a small cup of hot broth and sat on a stone wall to drink it. From there, he could see the fortress. It was bigger than he had expected. The walls were 3 times the height of a tall building. The front gate was made of black metal thick enough to stop a tank. Above the gate, 2 big guns slowly turned back and forth, scanning for trouble. A shimmering blue line ran around the whole fortress. That was the shield wall. Dale watched for a long time. He counted guards. He counted gun towers. He watched the gate open and close. It opened once. A truck rolled out. It was a big, ugly truck full of empty fruit crates. The guards waved it through without even checking it. Then a second truck came up the road from the city. This one was full. The guard stopped it, made the driver get out, looked at his papers, then waved him through. The whole check took less than a minute. They did not look in the back. They did not check the crates. Dale finished his broth. Tavik, he whispered. Who supplies the fortress with food? A family called the Hearns, Tavik said. They have run the food contract for many years. They come twice a week. They have papers. They have a passcode. Where do they live? In the lower city, by the river. Dale climbed back down the trail. That night he found the Hearns. They lived in a small stone house with a red door. Dale knocked. An old creature with thick gray fur opened the door. Dale bowed the way Tavik had taught him. He spat to the left, the proper Krell way. The old creature smiled, surprised that a human knew the custom. Come in, it said. Dale sat at the small wooden table. He drank the bitter tea that the old creature poured for him. Then he spoke. Honored elder, he said, I need your help. I need to ride in your truck. I will pay well. I will hide in the back. I will not cause trouble. I just need to enter the fortress. The old creature stopped pouring tea. It looked at Dale for a long moment. Then it said, "You are him, are you not? The human who drank the soul wine. The story has reached even here." Dale froze. The old creature smiled a slow, sad smile. "Sit," it said. "Drink. Let us talk about how to kill a warlord." The old creature's name was Hearn the Elder. The whole family was named Hearn, but he was the oldest, so the title just stuck to him like a second skin. He had lost his own brother to Ozun's army many years ago. The warlord had killed Hearn's brother for stealing a loaf of bread from the fortress kitchens. Just one loaf of bread. The elder had carried that anger inside him for half a lifetime. He had taken the food contract for the fortress because it was the only way to keep his family fed, but he had never forgotten. "I have waited for someone like you," he told Dale that night. "I am too old and too weak. My sons are good men, but they are loud and they would be caught. But you, a human, a nobody. You can pass through that gate and the guards will see only a small workman." Dale drank his bitter tea and listened. The plan was simple. In 2 days, the Hearns had their next delivery to the fortress. They would put Dale in the back of the truck dressed as a junior worker. He would carry crates of fruit and salted meat into the kitchens. From the kitchens, there was a service hallway that ran behind the dining hall. From the dining hall, there was a back stair that led up to the top floors. And on the top floor, in the highest room of the tower, lay Ozun. "He does not leave that room anymore," Hearn the elder said. "He cannot. He is kept alive by tubes and pumps. 2 guards stand outside the door. 2 more stand inside. A doctor sleeps in the next room. How will I get past 4 guards and a doctor?" Dale asked. The old creature smiled. He reached under the table and pulled out a small wooden box. He opened it. Inside was a tiny glass bottle filled with a clear liquid. "Sleep oil," he said. 3 drops in their soup. They will sleep until morning. The kitchen serves the guards their meal every evening at the 7th hour. I will get the bottle to the cook. She also lost someone to Ozun. She will use it." Dale picked up the small bottle and turned it over in his hand. "And the warlord?" he asked. "What about him?" The elder's smile faded. "That part," he said, "is for you and the ghost." 2 days passed slowly. Dale stayed inside the Hearn house. The family fed him well. The elder's wife sewed him a new shirt that looked like a Hearn worker uniform with the red family mark on the chest. The elder's sons taught him a few words to say if a guard spoke to him. Dale practiced bowing and spitting until it felt natural. On the morning of the delivery, Dale woke up before the sun. He washed his face in cold water. He looked into a cracked mirror in the kitchen. The man looking back at him did not look like a soldier. He looked like a tired cargo hand from Earth with dust in his hair and worry in his eyes. "Tavik," he said softly. "I am here," the ghost replied. "If I die today, will you tell my sister Rosa what happened? Find a way. Get a message to her." Tavik was quiet for a moment. "I will find a way. I promise." "Good," Dale said. The truck rolled out at the 8th hour. Dale sat in the back among the crates, dressed in his red worker shirt, holding a list of supplies on a wooden board. His heart was beating so hard he thought the guards would hear it from the front gate. The truck rumbled up the mountain road. The shadow of the fortress fell across the windshield. The guards waved it to a stop. The eldest son, a big, quiet man, handed over the papers. The guards looked at them, glanced at the back of the truck, saw a few tired workers among the crates, and waved them through. The black gate opened. The truck rolled into the fortress. Inside, the kitchens were full of steam and the smell of strange cooked meat. Dale carried crates with the other workers. He kept his head down. He moved slow but steady. Nobody looked at him twice. When the unloading was done, he slipped away into the service hallway, just as Hearn the Elder had said. The hallway was dim and quiet. His heart was pounding. He walked fast but careful. He passed the dining hall. He found the back stair. He climbed. 2 floors, 4 floors, 6 floors. Each floor he passed, he held his breath. On the 3rd floor, a guard walked across the landing right above him, but the guard was looking at his own boots and did not see Dale frozen against the wall. At the 7th hour, the kitchen served the guards their soup. Dale was on the 8th floor when he heard the soft thumps begin. One, then another, then 2 more. Bodies hitting the floor. The sleep oil was working. He climbed faster. The top floor was a single long hallway with a single door at the end. The door was tall and made of polished black wood. 2 guards lay sleeping against the wall beside it. Dale stepped over their legs. He pushed the door open. The room was full of machines. big white machines that hummed and beeped. Tubes ran across the floor like vines. In the middle of it all sat a bed, and in the bed lay something that had once been a person. Odzun? He was small now. So small. Just a head and a thin chest and two stick arms. His skin was gray and loose. His eyes were closed. But then his eyes opened, and he saw Dale, and he saw something else just behind Dale, rising up out of his shadow, growing tall, becoming solid for the first time in 1,000 years. Ozun opened his cracked old mouth. He whispered one word. Yo. Tavik stepped out of Dale's shadow and stood tall in the middle of the room. He was no longer a flat, dark shape on the floor. He was solid now. Real? He had broad shoulders and a long, narrow face. He wore the simple farm clothes he had died in, and there was still dried blood on his shirt where the spear had gone in. At his side hung the curved blade of his people, the old hunting knife he had carried to his last fight. Ozun's machines beeped faster. Lights began to flash on the panels. The old warlord tried to lift his head, but his neck was too weak. He could only stare. You remember me, Tavik said. His voice was soft, sad, but there was iron under it. Ozun's mouth worked. No sound came out for a long moment, then a thin, dry whisper. The farmer, he said. The one who would not run. Yes. How? A human drank the soul wine. He carried me here. I have waited for this day. I have waited a long, long time. Ozun's eyes turned to Dale. There was fear in them. There was hatred. But there was also something else. Something old and tired. Human, he said. I have wealth. I have ships. I have moons. I will give them all to you. Everything I own. Just walk out. Take the ghost with you. Let me die in my own time. Dale looked at the warlord on the bed. He thought of Mira and Bren and little Linny. He thought of a man bleeding in the dirt with a promise on his lips. He thought of her and the elder's brother, killed for a loaf of bread. He thought of all the worlds this small grey thing on the bed had burned. No, Dale said quietly. I do not want anything from you. Tavik walked to the side of the bed. He looked down at Ozun for a long moment. He did not raise his blade. He did not shout. He did not curse. He simply reached out one hand and laid it gently on Ozun's chest. The machine screamed. The lights flashed red. Ozun's body shook once. A pale grey mist rose out of his mouth and his eyes, and Tavik caught it in his hand like a man catching smoke. The warlord went still. His eyes stayed open, but they were empty now. The thing inside was gone. Tavik held the mist in his palm. He looked at Dale. It is done, he said. Then he and the grey mist began to glow. A soft, warm light filled the room. Tavik smiled for the first time. He looked younger, lighter, as if a stone had been lifted from his shoulders. Thank you, human, he said. Tell your sister you are a hero. I will tell mine the same. The light grew bright, then brighter. Then it was gone. The room was silent. Only the slow, flat tone of the medical machine remained, sounding the long note of a dead heart. Dale stood alone. Then the alarms began. Loud horns blared through the fortress walls. Red lights spun in every hallway. Boots pounded on the floors below. The guards were waking up. The cook had been found. Soldiers were running for the top floor. Dale ran the other way. He took the back stair down 2 floors, then ducked into a laundry chute. He slid down 4 floors with his back against the metal wall. He landed hard in a pile of dirty sheets in the basement. He pushed his way out through a service door and ran through the kitchens. The cook winked at him as he passed. She had a stack of soup bowls in her hands and a calm smile on her face. Outside the kitchens, the Hearn truck was already running, engine warm. Dale jumped into the back. The elder's son slammed the door and floored the pedal. The truck shot toward the front gate. The guards at the gate had not yet figured out what was happening. They saw the food truck heading out just like every other delivery day, and they waved it through. The truck shot down the mountain road. By the time the alarms reached the gate, the truck was already 2 turns down the trail. 3 days later, Dale was back at the trade station. He stepped off a small jump ship onto the same metal walkway where he had drunk the cursed wine almost a month before. The station looked the same. The smells were the same. Traders shouted. Children chased each other. A 4-armed cleaner pushed a cart of trash down the hall. Dale walked into the alien bar. Cross was wiping a glass behind the counter. The big lizard looked up. Its slow eyes went wide. It set the glass down very carefully. The whole bar went quiet again, just like the first time. Dale walked up to the counter. He looked Cross in the eye. Then he looked down at the floor. His shadow stretched across the tiles, long and thin in the orange light. There was only one head, only one body, only him. A whisper went through the bar. The aliens looked at each other. None of them had seen this before. None of them had ever known a being to come back from the soul wine. Dale put a small handful of credits on the counter. A cup of regular ale, please, Cross, he said. Cross stared at him for a long, long moment. Then it slowly poured the ale. It set the cup in front of Dale. Then, very softly, the big lizard bowed its head. Welcome back, human, Cross said. Dale drank the ale in slow, easy sips. The aliens around him watched in silence. They watched the way people watch a story they will tell for the rest of their lives. When Dale finished the cup, he set it down. He nodded to Cross. He walked out, and from that night on, in every bar, on every station along the edge of human alien space, a new saying began to spread among the older races. If you ever see a human walk into a forbidden place, do not warn him. Just step aside and watch.